All right, you guys, it is late, but this is a topic that has been weighing heavy on my mind. So let's get into today's video, which is why therapy is BS for men. Okay, so I'm specifically going to be talking about men in this video because that is ultimately what this channel is designed for. My statistics on Instagram are like 85% male, 15% female. If it were up to me, I would flip a switch and just have my content viewed by men only, because that's who this is designed to help. So if you're a man that's looking to better yourself, you're in the right spot right now. All right. So here's a little bit of context, because when I first say this, therapy is BS for men, there are a lot of people that get their panties in a bunch right off the bat. And they're like, oh, Brandon, but I know a good therapist. Here's a little bit of context for you. Just like fitness coaches, I'm a fitness coach. I help people lose weight. I help people get shredded. They get awesome results. I'm a good fitness coach, but there are a lot of bad fitness coaches out there, okay? And I understand that. And the same thing is going to apply with therapists, all right? There are going to be good therapists. There are going to be bad therapists at the end of the day, okay? And what constitutes a good therapist versus what constitutes a bad therapist, I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in today's video. But let's jump into why. So why is therapy BS for men? Okay. Well, I want you to think about something before we get into the points. Every single thing that has a cure, okay, it is ultimately supposed to fix the problem. Okay. So you've got a problem, and then the cure is designed to fix it. For example, breast cancer. Okay. For example, some sort of surgical intervention needed to remove some sort of tumor. Okay. There's a medication out there for some sort of illness. There's a cure that is ultimately supposed to fix a problem, to cure a disease. Now let's think about the cure, which is in this case, therapy, and making therapy as accessible as we possibly can to every single American, which is the state that we're in right now. And yet, when therapy is at an all-time high, men are unaliving themselves more than ever, okay? Depression rates, anxiety rates, everything is through the roof. Mental health has never been worse, and yet therapy is at an all-time high. And that's supposed to be the cure. Now, I understand that correlation does not equal causation, but if you start to look into the actual studies, you will find for yourself that therapy actually does make things worse, okay? So let's get into this. I wanted to give that little bit of context there as well. Number one reason why therapy is BS, all right, is because men do not operate on the same frequency as women. Men operate in the rational. Women operate in the emotional. Okay, this is how it is supposed to work. This is testosterone versus estrogen at the end of the day. We are different creatures than women. And so I'm specifically calling out men in this video. I'm going to specifically talk about why it is BS for men. I am not even going to touch whether or not it is good or bad for women. That is a whole separate topic. But then some of you guys may be thinking when I say this, you're like, wait, but some men are emotional, so those men should be able to benefit from therapy. Emotional men. That is the problem. That is ultimately what we are fighting against. That is why we have a masculinity crisis in America to begin with. It's why men are so weak. So if you know a man that operates in the emotional side of things, we should probably fix that. That's a problem. If a man is operating in the emotional rather than the rational, he is not in the state that he is supposed to be in, plain and simple, all right? Number two, all right, therapy encourages an external locus of control. And I'm going to break down what that means. An internal locus of control is someone who heavily identifies with the idea that they can control their current situation, all right? When they look at their life, they think, if I just do this, I could change my current situation. And that is ultimately what they focus on. They focus on the variables that they can control. All right? That is somebody that has an internal locus of control. Somebody that has an external locus of control is somebody who believes that everything is just happening to them. They're convinced that everything is against them. Everything is going like against them. The universe is out to get them. When you run into people like this, you'll know. You'll understand what I'm talking about. We all know that one person that doesn't take responsibility for anything going on in their life, and they're constantly convinced that the world is out to screw them. Okay? That is somebody with an extremely external locus of control. They are erratic and they are emotional. Okay? And what therapy does is it encourages this. It encourages this external locus of control because it loves to blame. It loves to blame people's actions. It loves to blame their current state of affairs on things that they can't control. And they like to sit there and wallow in it, okay? So men need to have an internal locus of control. As a man, if you actually want to be successful in life, whether it's with finances, whether it's with women, whether it's with fitness, whatever it is, you are going to need to understand that the habits that you have every single day and your discipline is going to be directly correlated to whether or not you are going to actually be successful. Okay? I meet people like this all the time. They come to me and they say, Brandon, like, I don't have time to work out. I fell off the wagon because I have kids and I have a nagging wife. These are actual fitness coaching clients that come to me. And they say, I don't have time to work out. I fell out of shape. And you know what I do with them? I tell them, dude, this is your fault. I give them back the reins. I tell them, you need to start focusing on what you can control because there's a lot more in your life that you can control than you're currently convinced of. And that's what you need to be focusing on in man is the aspects that you can actually control. You need an internal locus of control. When you see that shift in a man, it will completely change his life. It is absolutely mind-blowing to watch somebody go from internal to external locus of control. From external to internal locus of control. Because pretty much what happens is all of a sudden they start taking action. They're no longer just sitting back thinking, oh, all of this terrible stuff is happening to me. I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to do that. This is what it looks like to man up. And at the end of the day, what this is it's the mentality of a victor versus the mentality of a victim. Okay? It's a two-letter difference here. Victor versus victim. Which one are you going to be in life at the end of the day? You can either grab life by the balls, that's what it's like to be a victor, or you can get bent over by life. That's the life of a victim. Therapy, at least mainstream therapy, very much pushes you towards this. All right? Number 3, dwelling on trauma. All right, substantiates men's sufferings. When you dwell on something, they tend to just sit in it. And they don't do anything about it. And this points right back to number 2 in the fact that they just want to sit there and blame something else for their problems. Have you ever noticed that when you have a bad day, just about the worst thing that you can do is sit there and think about how shitty of a day it's been? That's not the solution. The solution is to go do something hard. The solution is to take yourself out of your own head, give yourself back the control, and go and do something. Get outside of it. That's why it helps to go outside, touch grass. That is ultimately what you are doing when you're going from this mentality to this mentality. And when you're sitting in your trauma, when your doctor sits there, your therapist sits there and stamps you on the forehead and says, oh yeah, you have trauma. You have trauma. The reason why you act this way is because of this. One of my favorite ones that men get told all the time, you're emotionally unavailable. But it's not because of you. It's because your dad. It's because your dad taught you to be this stoic, rational male. That's toxic as fuck, and you need to deal with that. That's what therapy currently teaches men. It says, your dad didn't teach you how to be emotionally available and express your feelings. What kind of horse shit is that? My gosh. All right, so sitting inside of the trauma substantiates it. Don't sit in anything as a man. You should be moving. Your goal is to move. And why should you move? Well, it's because time heals wounds, okay? Time is what ultimately heals wounds. And what happens also is time makes you more rational. Time subsides emotions. Time makes you more rational. Let me give you a little bit of an example. Imagine you're driving in traffic, okay? And somebody cuts you off. You are super angry at them. You might feel even that if they were to jump out of the car right now, you would throw hands. Like you're that angry. But then you give it 5 minutes. You're still a little bit heated about it. 20 minutes, they were probably having a bad day, okay? That's what you kind of start to think. An hour later, you don't even care. You don't even care that they cut you off in traffic. Time subsides your emotions. As a man, you have to understand that working through something is part of the process. People grieve, people go through emotion in different ways, and men are born to control their emotions, not to express them. It is up to a man, if he wants to truly become the best version of himself, to learn how to control his emotions. And this includes controlling his desire, controlling lust, controlling wants, okay? This all leads back to an internal locus of control, understanding that you have the ability inside of you to say no to the things that make things worse, okay? So keep that in mind. Time is going to heal your wounds as a man. And that's exactly how you're supposed to go through it. It's going to create scars, but at the end of the day, that's what makes you a man. What makes you a man is your suffering. Your suffering becomes wisdom. Your suffering becomes wisdom that you can then you can bestow upon other people. That is incredibly valuable. That is your value as a man. Your value as a man is to lead. Even if you think, oh, I'm not called to be a leader. I'm not called to be a leader. Trust me, you are. You are born a man, and therefore you are called to be a leader. You are called to be a leader. You are not called to be emotional. You are not called to be erratic. You are not called to operate on the same frequency as a woman. You are called for something special. Every single point of suffering in your life is something that gives you wisdom that you can then bestow onto others. That's what makes you valuable as a man. Incredibly valuable. All right? So remember that. Men are born to control their emotions, not to express them. Okay? And the whole problem, the whole root of the masculinity crisis is that men are too emotional. And therapy is not helping with this at all. It is going in the opposite direction. Do you want to sit there and have a therapist who went to a liberal school, who got literally taught by, go look who the leaders are, the leading thinkers in therapy. It's not conservative, awesome, masculine men that we are aspiring to be. It is liberals that are preaching their liberal propaganda. They're ultimately trying to make you as docile and as tolerant as possible. And like I said in the last video, passivity is the first sin of mankind. The first sin. And it's what you have to watch out for. Do not be docile. Do not be tolerant. Now, a little bit of reflection here. All right? And I want to provide you guys with a little bit of a solution, because I know that's a lot of me just kind of ragging on therapy in general, but there are things that you can do to get better, okay? And I think that there are a couple different aspects and things that you should consider. There is a case for masculine, spiritual, and authoritative guidance from another man, from a man who has experienced things, a man who has a plethora of wisdom that he can bestow upon you. There is very much a case for this, which is why I recommend that if you are a man and you are struggling, if you are in your head, make sure that whoever you go to is a shining example of a person you actually want pouring into you. Beware the gates. Beware the gates. Through the ears and the eyes, these people will deceive you. It is up to you to watch what you consume. It is up to you to watch who you are going to be in the presence of, because these people are going to have a profound effect on you. Therapists, they are going to have a massive effect on you. You are going to be open with them. You are going to be vulnerable. And you need to make sure that that person is encouraging you to have an internal locus of control, okay? And he is also encouraging you to have God at the center of your fundamental changes, okay? With the changes that you are making in your life, God needs to be at the center. And if you have some therapist that is not telling you to do that, if you have a therapist that's not telling you that you need to be working out every single day, that you need to be getting in the sun every day, that you shouldn't be on your freaking phone all the time, doom scrolling. I swear, it's so funny. When I tell people, I say, hey, the cure is supposed to fix the problem. Okay, the cure is supposed to fix the problem here, and it's making things worse because our mental health is worse than ever. They say, oh, well, that's because things are harder than ever. That's why our mental health is worse than ever. Really? Things are harder than ever. You think right now, our life, like as cushy Americans, that we have it worse than people 100, 200, 300 years ago? Go look up what was happening in the world during those times. Because it's definitely not rational for you to be thinking that your current situation, that you have it worse off. And then people say, oh, well, phones. We have phones now. It makes people more depressed. People are constantly comparing themselves to other people. Beware the gates, the eyes, and the ears. Why are you sitting there doom scrolling all day? Why are you watching porn for hours on end? This is your problem. Okay, I understand that phones can have a terrible effect. It's also an amazing tool. Use it as a tool, as a man. At the end of the day, it is your fault if you are scrolling. It is your fault if your electronics are dictating your mood. If you are allowing yourself to chase pleasure over and over and over again, getting the easy dopamine fix from your phone. That's completely up to you. Use it as a tool, and you can do so much. It's incredible. There are positive aspects to this, and there are negative aspects to this. But don't blame everything on something else, on a phone. Like, realize what you're doing. You're literally blaming a tool. You're blaming an object for why you're letting it affect you. Internal locus of control. So hopefully this video gave you guys a really good idea of why I actually believe that therapy is BS. If you guys are interested in hiring me as a fitness coach, or you're interested in becoming a fitness coach at all, you can check the links down below. Make sure to drop a like on this video if you guys did enjoy this. I know I got a little bit heated about it because this is something that I genuinely care about. And watching all of these people come out of the woodworks and get super pissed off when I say stuff like this, it just blows my mind. It just blows my mind how far we have fallen as men in today's society. So go work out, go do hard shit, be a man, and keep God at the center of it.